Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me again today. Yesterday, I talked about God hidden in plain sight and how that the scriptures reveal the heart of God, often in ways beyond what we just see on the surface. So today, I'm going to begin a series from 2 Samuel chapter 9, one of my favorite stories, and it just is so rich and deep and full of revelation of who Jesus is, who God is. This is the story of Mephibosheth. And I'm just going to today basically tell the story. And then tomorrow we'll begin exploring it and looking for God hidden in plain sight. The story concerns a young man named Mephibosheth. He was the grandson of King Saul, the son of Jonathan, who was David's best friend growing up. Mephibosheth was in line for the throne. He was the son of the heir to the throne. And he grew up in the palace of a king. And he grew up with privilege and plenty and prosperity and blessing in his life. However, his grandfather Saul died in a horrific battle, and so did his father. Both his grandfather and his father died in a battle on the same day. At that time, Mephibosheth was just a little baby. And in those days, when a king died, and the heir to the throne also died, there would be often many who would rise up and try to take the throne, and they would do it by killing all the family, any leftover family from the king at that time. So the servants were afraid for Mephibosheth. They figured his life was in danger. So one of the servants, a nanny, grabbed him and began to run with him to flee from the city where they were living. And as this servant ran, they stumbled and fell and dropped Mephibosheth. And when he fell, something happened. He broke his ankles, his legs, his feet, something. And it said that from that time on, because they were never set properly, he was lame in both feet. He had a condition in his feet that would have made him feel inadequate, would have limited his ability to move about, and it limited his prospects for his future. It was probably something that he lived with in shame. Other kids probably made fun of his crippled feet and the fact that he couldn't play games with them and so on. He wasn't able to work like other young men were when he came of age. So he lived in this place. They went to this place called Lodabar, which was a nowhere sort of place. It was the backwoods, redneck territory kind of thing, where nobody really wanted to live in Lodabar, but he did because he was hiding out, because he was also fearful for his life, because he knew that when King David took over, the normal process would be for the king to destroy any family that was left over related to Saul. So this is a situation in which Mephibosheth finds himself. He's living in shame, he's living in ignominy, he's living where nobody else wants to live, he's in want. And so all of this is happening. David at some point finds out that he's still alive. He asks, is there anybody still related to Saul and Jonathan? And he sends for him and brings him into the palace. Of course, Mephibosheth is afraid he's going to be killed, but David instead extends graciousness to him and says, I was in covenant relationship with your father. And out of that relationship I had with your dad, I want to make sure all of your property and all of the assets that were yours are going to be restored to you. And not only that, you are welcome now to come and eat at my table here in the king's palace in the capital city and live like a prince that you really are. And you will eat at my table for the rest of your days. You can put your feet under my table. And so that's what happens. Mephibosheth comes and lives in the palace of the king and eats at the king's table. So that's basically the story. I'm sure that already you can see some of the God hiddenness hidden in this story. And for the next probably, I don't know, 20 days or more, I want to take time to walk through this story and perhaps help us find the characteristics of God, the characteristics of Jesus as revealed in this amazing story. 2 Samuel chapter 9. I'd encourage you to take some time and read it so that you're familiar with it as we begin to work our way through it. So let's think about that today. Read that story. Ask God to bring to your understanding what He wants you to know from that story in 2 Samuel chapter 9. And we'll begin to talk about it tomorrow. God bless.